I'm Mike Chisam. I'm the president and CEO of Kansas Ethanol. And Kansas Ethanol was established in 2008. That's actually when we started operations. And we started out as a nameplate 55 million gallon per year facility. And we started with 35 employees, just making the traditional ethanol and wet and dry distillers grains. And then over the years, we've added several things to improve the efficiency and increase production at the facility. And now we are at 80 million gallons per year. In 2013, we added our tub and cube facility, and we take our dry distillers and produce pellets, cubes, and tubs for livestock use. And we're hoping to start making horse feed as well here in the near future. We've also added CO2 capture and sales from the facility, and we capture oil and sell oil as a product as well. So we've expanded our revenue stream considerably. And then we're working on a fairly large project right now to generate our own electricity and sell some electricity back to the grid. The trucks come across the scale, and we'll get gross weight, and then we'll send them on around after that load is tested for quality. We look at test weight, we look at moisture content, and we look at the foreign material of the grain, and we'll grade it. And then once that procedure has been completed, then the truck will go around to the back of the facility and unload the contents of the trailer in our receiving area, and it's transferred into the elevator bins. In a year's time, we process about 24 million bushels of corn and grain sorghum, and a good portion of that comes from local farms, but we also receive quite a bit of grain from commercial elevators and resellers. We try to process as much as we possibly can from local farmers.
Flows, temps, and we make adjustments as needed. The operators go out, do the rounds, so manually they're getting a physical sample, and they're testing the line to make sure they coincide with each other. I just keep an eye on everything, and just the fermentation process, and as it's going through distillation.
Where we do testing of the ethanol and also our distillers grains to make sure that they are in spec. Every load has to be certified before it is actually loaded onto the truck. So all that work is done in here. We also monitor the progression of the fermentation process. We pull samples on a frequent basis from the fermenters and analyze those using the HPLC to evaluate the level of sugar and also the amount of alcohol that is present as we're going through the fermentation process. And that one's actually oil there, but These two are the Carl Fisher, and they're analyzing the amount of water present in the final product. Well, we're standing in front of some of our dry distillers grain, and this is a co-product from the ethanol production process. So once the grain comes in, we remove the starch and ferment that and convert that to ethanol. And then everything else basically comes through the process and comes out the back end as distillers grain. And we produce wet and dry distillers grain. Obviously, I'm standing in front of some of the dry distillers grain that we have produced at our facility. And on an annual basis, we produce about 30 to 36,000 tons of dry distillers grain a year and about 450,000 tons of wet distillers grains. Dry distillers exports are important to our industry from its overall supply and demand standpoint. We at Kansas Ethanol don't do a lot of exporting of dry distillers. We don't do actually any because we have a good local market and we are not close to a barge or river system or close to the Gulf for exports. For those folks that are located on a river system, barge system, or close to the Gulf of Mexico, it's important to them to fit into their overall economic model for success. We have a local market for our wet distillers grains, and we are unable to ship that a great distance because it is 65% moisture. But we also do produce some dry distillers grains not only to feed our tub and cube facility, but to keep our overall production in balance. And we're able to ship some of our dry distillers a further distance because it is 10% moisture. It makes much more sense to ship a dried product like this a greater distance than shipping 65% water with our wet distillers grains. In our tub and cube facility, we take our dry distillers that we produce here on site and we run that through a twin screw extruder. And then we have different dyes to produce pellets and cubes for livestock feed. And we are able to make those with just 100% distillers grain, or we can also add a mineral or vitamin pack to that as well. And then we also have another line that produces the 200-pound supplemental tub. And those always have a mineral pack in them. And we can also make what's called a transition tub that allows, that is produced for weaning cattle, for calves. And it's a little bit softer, it makes it a little bit easier for the calves to eat that product. Thank you for taking the tour of Kansas Ethanol. Hopefully sometime you'll be able to visit us in person, and I look forward to participating in the Q&A on the 15th on the phone call.